SummerSlam 1997, Steve Austin vs. Owen Hart. Austin was paralyzed for several seconds, and the entire arena realized just how real wrestling can get. Somehow, he managed a weak roll-up and got the win. The guy had a broken neck and still finished the match.
Not being able to move an arm or a leg, I'm still pissed off about it, to this day.
That moment changed everything, not just for Austin, but for the WWE. The fallout was massive. Everyone knew how close they came to disaster, and so did Austin. Triple H tore his quad clean off the bone and still finished the match. That's it. That's the story. But fine, here's more. It was May 2001. Triple H teamed with Austin against Jericho and Benoit. Somewhere in the chaos, his leg gave out like a folding chair, and the man just kept going. He even let Jericho slap on the walls of Jericho on the announce table, with his leg already shredded. Surgery, rehab, all of that. But the moment people remember is him limping through pain like a vengeful Terminator. Crowd went feral when he returned. He was out for nearly a year, and when he came back in January 2002, the pop was nuclear. Madison Square Garden practically lost its roof. He came back bigger, meaner, and with one of the most over-the-top leather jackets of the decade. The man earned every bit of his cerebral assassin title, not just for mind games, for gritting through an injury most people would scream at just thinking about. During a tag team match on SmackDown, things took a sharp left turn when Ridge Holland went for a belly-to-belly suplex on the outside. The fall fractured his C1 and C6 vertebrae, and the only reason we weren't looking at a career-ending tragedy was dumb luck and good spine placement. Somehow, there was no paralysis. Somehow, he still smiled through every update, because that's who Big E is. Impossibly positive, even when his neck's trying to kill him. As of now, he's still not cleared to return, but the fact that he can walk, talk, and keep spreading joy is the biggest win he could have walked out with that night. Of all the ways The Undertaker could have gone out, you wouldn't expect him to nearly be cooked alive by his own entrance. It was Elimination Chamber 2010, and the pyrotechnics guy must have been having a rough day because Undertaker got hit with a full fireball. First and second degree burns, and what did he do? Threw his jacket off, doused himself, and wrestled anyway. It wasn't part of the act, though it easily could have been. The man was actually on fire. It was the kind of incident that makes WWE rethink their definition of spectacle. Backstage, panic. Production scrambled. Medics were ready to call it off. But Undertaker, ever the undead cowboy, told them to stuff it. Vicious was not exactly known for his aerial offense. The man's whole gimmick was staring a hole through you and powerbombing you into next week. But at WCW Sin pay-per-view in 2001, someone backstage decided he needed to freshen things up. So Sid, all 300 pounds of him, climbed the second rope and went for a flying kick. What happened next was one of the most disturbing things ever broadcast on live wrestling television. His leg folded underneath him like a plastic lawn chair, and you could hear it snap. The crowd didn't know whether to scream or throw up. The commentators didn't even try to cover it. John Cena doesn't break. At least that was the myth, until Seth Rollins drove his knee straight into Cena's face and folded his nose like origami. It was instantly crooked, blood gushing, and yet, of course, Cena kept going. He not only finished the match, he won the match. The guy could be half an inch from losing an eyeball and still hit the 5-knuckle shuffle. He got it fixed up, but for a brief moment, Cena looked mortal. Just don't expect him to ever admit it. Medical staff had to reset the nose immediately after the match. Cameras caught the moment backstage, and even hardened crew members winced. It became one of those slow-motion GIFs that people watched over and over with morbid curiosity. Rollins didn't mean to do it, but the strike was brutal. Cena never missed a step, and even though it wasn't career-threatening, it was one of those nasty little reminders that you can be Superman and still get your cape ripped. When Cody Rhodes walked into Hell in a Cell with a pectoral muscle that looked like someone poured grape Kool-Aid under his skin, he had ripped his pec clean off the bone and then wrestled a brutal match against Seth Rollins over 20 minutes. The crowd audibly recoiled when he removed his jacket. The bruise was so bad it looked fake, but it wasn't. And by the end of the match, it was clear he turned a career-threatening injury into a career-defining moment. Rollins didn't hold back either. He went full heel, targeting the injury with kendo sticks, steel steps, and anything else he could get his hands on. Cody kept going. He even won. The commentary team was stunned silent more than once. Afterward, Cody went straight into surgery, and the photos of the tendon separation circulated online like some sort of body horror exhibit. The match became legend before he even left the arena. Wrestling fans love pain, apparently. Sting had already done it all before he ever stepped into a WWE ring, but when he finally signed in 2015, fans were eager to see if the icon had one last run in him. That question got answered faster than anyone expected. During his WWE World Heavyweight Championship match against Seth Rollins at Night of Champions, Sting took a turnbuckle powerbomb, a high-impact move where you're thrown backwards into the corner. And something went wrong the moment his upper back and neck hit the turnbuckles. For a few terrifying seconds, he couldn't feel his arms or legs. Trainers ran in, but Sting waved them off. He was determined to finish the match, even though he was clearly in agony and barely able to stay on his feet. Later tests confirmed the damage, a neck injury caused by spinal stenosis, a serious condition where the spinal canal narrows and puts pressure on the cord. It's the kind of diagnosis where one more bad fall doesn't mean another match, it means paralysis. Sting announced his retirement the following year, and just like that, his WWE run ended almost as soon as it had begun. But the fact that he kept going after losing feeling in his limbs, just to finish a scripted match in front of a live crowd, says everything you need to know about him. The man's spine may have given out, but his sense of drama never did. To wrap up this list, we're ending with the only entry that technically counts as 5 injuries in one. Because when Mick Foley stepped into King of the Ring 1998, he didn't just get hurt. He basically became a crash test dummy in sweatpants. Billed as Mankind, he faced The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell, and over the next 20 minutes, collected more injuries than most wrestlers rack up in an entire career. First, he was thrown off the top of the cell and crashed through the announce table in a fall so violent it left announcers genuinely speechless. That spot alone should have ended the match, and maybe even his career. But Foley climbed back up. The second fall, through the cell roof and onto the ring canvas, with a steel chair bouncing off his face for good measure, wasn't even part of the plan. He hit the mat like a sack of bricks and somehow kept going. By the time it was over, he had a dislocated shoulder, a concussion, several broken ribs, a busted lip, and a tooth jammed in his nose. And that's just what we know about. He finished the match, barely able to stand, grinning through blood and swelling like it was all part of the gimmick. But it wasn't. This wasn't a storyline beatdown. It was one of the most legitimately painful performances in wrestling history. If every other name on this list earned their place with one brutal moment, Mick Foley earned his by surviving a full-blown highlight reel of bodily destruction, live in front of thousands on purpose. So, what have we learned? If you're a WWE superstar, there's a good chance your toughest opponent isn't another wrestler. It's gravity, pyrotechnics, questionable booking, or your own determination to finish the match no matter how many bones you've broken. These injuries weren't just shocking, they were proof that in the squared circle, pain is temporary, but the footage is forever.